Hey everyone, friends, lovers, enemy alt-right lurkers. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Terra podcast, and it's Pride Month. I'm in a new space. This is a new background. I am in Boulder right now. I'm staying at my dear friend's house while he is out climbing for the month. So I got to take up his space here and make it my own little personal studio. Shout out to Byron, my good dear friend of like over 10 years now. So thank you, Byron. Love you, boo boo. Um, yeah, as any true climber, I guess, Byron took all of his uh cooking supplies with him, which makes a lot of sense. So I had to go out and buy a bunch of cooking supplies. But so now I'm here and I'm gonna be here for the next few weeks, maybe longer, depending if I can find a place. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I've been going on some trail runs and it's so nice. It's so nice to be out in the so-called West again. And I just love it out here. I feel so much more calm and it's just the landscape that I love being in. I mean, I love Missouri. I really do. I really do love St. Louis is such a gem and people shit on St. Louis. People will shit on Missouri and it doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve it. St. Louis is one of the best cities in the world. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It had some of the most amazing, incredible, beautiful communities, the most amazing, incredible activists and advocates that history has ever seen. Right now, they are doing so much amazing, incredible on the ground grassroots activism. Shout out Action St. Louis. Shout out For the Culture. Ohan Ashe and Kayla Reed are doing incredible work, and all the people of Action St. Louis to protest Kara Spencer and all the horrendous government people that are not doing jack shit for North St. Louis, who was most devastated by the tornado that happened last year, May 2025. And people are still living out of tents. People are still living with no roofs on their houses. They are still living in these awful, horrible, unlivable conditions. And the government and St. Louis people, like the mayor, like Kara Spencer, like are doing jack shit. And they're not giving the money to North St. Louis where it rightfully should go. All the money that is allocated for the tornado or for tornado recovery efforts or there's like this thing called the Ram Settlement Fund, and it all needs to go to North St. Louis. So if you are listening to this and you are in that area or like you just want to learn more about it, I know I'm going on a really huge rant slash tangent right now, but that is what this platform is about too. Environmental injustice or environmental justice is something that I'm a huge advocate of. Obviously, that's what Terra Incognita Media is about at the end of the day, like at its root, at its core. That's what this feminist platform is all about. And part of environmental justice is advocating for quote unquote disaster relief, which is really just intentional dispossession and disenfranchisement of Black communities, whether it's St. Louis or any other city across the US. This is not a matter of some so-called natural disaster. This is intentional. This is intentional racism and white supremacy and ongoing colonization. It's not right. It's so wrong. And so this is just something that I is really close to me, close to my heart because I am based in St. Louis. I was raised for a good part of my life, well, in the suburbs of St. Louis. My family is still in the suburbs of St. Louis for the most part. And yeah, so don't talk shit about St. Louis anymore. Okay? Okay. Happy Pride again. So, in this, I'm like on a squeaky chair, so hopefully you can't really hear it, but I tried really hard to like get some good lighting for this episode. I the lighting in here is so beautiful. There's a lot of windows, but I'm backlit right now, which isn't really great. Don't love that, but I'm gonna try to do this episode without having to turn up the ring light that I have back here. Um, I'm gonna lose daylight, and I don't want the lighting to change all that much because the sun will start setting. But yeah, just work with me, bear with me, because I'm really particular about my lighting, about my setup, and it's interesting to work in a new space and figure that out. So I just don't even like this angle, to be honest, but we're gonna work with it. We're gonna make it work, designers. So yeah, that's kind of my situation right now. I'm in Boulder, closer to my mortal enemies than ever. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Um, but not really. Anyways, so I do have notes. So if you see me looking over to the left, that is because I'm looking at my notes and want to make sure I hit everything. So first of all, this episode is going to be about the Lore of Terra. I'm definitely going to talk about the Lore of Terra because since I wrote that article that I published, if you haven't read it yet, I did put out a new article. I think it was last week or a week and a half ago at this point, but Himpathy for the Devil, the climbers that protected the serial rapist Charlie Barrett. So I wrote that article, I put it out, I called out people by name, and it is making the rounds in the climbing world. The people are pissed. Some people are pissed, and I'm like, that's music to my ears. And then some people really resonated with it, and I also have been told that it was really hard to get through for people who have been impacted by rape culture and survivors specifically. And my heart goes out to you all. I wrote that article for survivors. I'm a survivor myself. And I wrote that article because I am enraged and infuriated of the people who are still of the belief that Charlie Barrett isn't a serial rapist. So, and I'm so enraged and so infuriated and so disgusted by the people who are making excuses for these rape apologists. So I'll get into that a little bit later, but because there are some new people here from writing that article, I wanted to just kind of reintroduce myself. I haven't even said that my name is Erin Monahan, but hi, in the flesh. I'm Erin Monahan, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a monster. Just kidding. I am a ravenous bitch. Somebody left me a 5-star review on Facebook calling me a ravenous bitch, and so I'm like, that's a compliment. I'm gonna keep that one. I'm gonna put it in my pocket. But I am a professional toxic masculinity interrupter and a professional feminist killjoy. And so here we are. Here we are. Welcome to the office. Welcome to my lair. And so we're gonna get into like a little bit of the lore of Terra because I want to remind y'all what we're here for, what we do at headquarters, which happens to be here in Boulder for the next who knows how long. You tell me, you got a free place for me to live? That would be amazing. With a shower, with like a space for me to cook my oatmeal every morning, that would be amazing. Because of all the new folks that have come in, I want to reintroduce myself and then also just, ground us in the work that we do here at Terra. Whether you're new or you've been here since the beginning, 2015, but I think that you're going to learn something new here in this episode about Terra. I think it's going to be fresh even if you are a die-hard Terra girly, which I know there's a lot of you out there, and I fucking love you for it. I think that there's still going to be some fresh info for you. I don't know, some fresh ear candy. We'll see. Okay, and then we're going to talk a little bit about pride before we do that, because of course. And then we're going to go into venting about the Himpathizers. We're going to vent about the rape apologists, like Jackie Hufflepuff, Huffley, Hoofley, what the fuck? I don't know how to say her last name. Someone send me like how to pronounce that. And then Ian Powell. So we're gonna vent about them. We're gonna talk about them and the people that defend them, the people who are protecting them from getting valid criticism and valid call outs for being the rape apologists that they are and defending Charlie Barrett. That's disgusting. It's people like that, people like Jackie, people like Ian Powell, people like Alex Honnold, people like Lisa Rand and Wills Young, who Andrew Bishop, Chris Blues, I could keep going. I will later. But it's these people who allow Charlie Barrett to keep going and keep getting away with his violence. And it's these people who re-traumatize and cause more harm to survivors. Jackie got on her phone and texted and called people to harass them. She was texting them to discredit them and to discourage them from speaking out and speaking up while all this was going on before Barrett was put in jail. So that's disgusting behavior. Get her the fuck off of Bolton Revolt. Get her the fuck off of like anything that has to do with gender equity. Like, no, stop participating in anything that they're doing, anything that they're putting on. Like, boycott Kilter, boycott those brands. Like, fuck that. Absolutely fuck that. There's no fucking excuse. Ugh, I'm already like so pissed. Okay, so let's start with pride. Okay? Pride. Happy Pride, my gay babies. Yeah, it's about joy. Yes, it's about our self-expression. It's also about protesting. It's also about rioting. Because Pride started and will forever be a riot. So anything corporate, you get the fuck out of here. No, we don't need like a Boeing fighter jet plane draped in a pride flag. That's not pride. That's oppression. That's like the police state that we're protesting. That's the police state that is killing queer people, that is killing Black people. And Black liberation and queer liberation go hand in hand. We know this. But I want to read a piece from an article on Refinery 29 written by Jonathan Borge. So he writes, quote, "While Stonewall is remembered as the riot that sparked the gay liberation movement as we know it, others came before it, most in protest of unwarranted police surveillance and brutality against disenfranchised queer people of color." End quote. And this brutality has not let up. If anything, it's gotten worse. It has gotten more insidious. We are in a police state. We are being surveilled at all times, whether it's through your phones, your computers, your laptops, people's cameras that are hanging out outside their houses, Ring doorbells, your Apple Watches, Meta glasses, which is creepy as shit. If you like don't talk to me if you own a pair of Meta glasses, okay? I was at Best Buy trying to find like a refurbished laptop a couple weeks ago, and the guy that was helping me was wearing Meta glasses, and I was like, bro, I can't talk to you right now. Like, please. Like, he's like, oh, I'll take them off. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Why do you have those? What is the point? What is the point? Like, that's a red flag. But yeah, Ring doorbells, get rid of your Ring doorbell. What are you doing? What is so important? What is so important? Like, we've been doing fine without Ring doorbells. Like, I've lived in St. Louis, people, yeah, they steal your packages off the doorstep sometimes. Like, I don't know, ask your neighbor. Like, me and my neighbor, we had a thing where like we would take each other's packages in. Like, is it really that big of a deal? You're really worried about that? Or like somebody like sideswipes your car and breaks your rearview mirror off? Like, it happens. Like, what are you gonna do? Go hunt that guy down? Go hunt that person down? No, you're not. That recently just happened to my friend. She lives in a duplex where her neighbor put in a Ring doorbell camera, and she was like, I'm so pissed, I'm gonna hunt this guy. I'm like, no, first of all, no. Like, that's just not that punitive mindset. It happens. Shit like that happens. I'm not saying it's fun. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying that I have endless amounts of money, that if anything like that happened, it wouldn't devastate me or like my bank account, because it has and it will. But especially because this person who I was speaking to and who I'm talking about does have excess resources, does have expendable income. Yeah, so like what are you gonna do? I just think it's ridiculous. And she looked at the Ring camera or something and like didn't find anything, obviously. I just think it's absurd. You're not gonna do anything. I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing at you. Sorry, not sorry. Um, it's not good. It's not good for any of us. They're unsafe. They actually are they make us less safe. Okay. So someone who actually talks about this more in depth, and I highly recommend you follow their work, is YK Hong. You can follow their work on social media at YK Reborn, but they also have a website called liberationtoolbox.io. And you can subscribe for free to their newsletter, to their website, where they go in depth about how you can protect yourself from this police state, from this surveillance state that we live in. And this is where I get my information from. They're anti-oppressive, they're anti-racist, they're amazing. And they wrote a whole article, which I'll link in the description of this podcast episode. If you're listening on Spotify, or if you're listening on YouTube, or if you're here on Patreon and you're a patron, you'll find it in the description below. But they talk about how Ring doorbells are like Ring's parent company is Amazon. And Amazon, we're boycotting Amazon, right? We're boycotting Amazon. We're boycotting Target. Okay? And yeah, like fuck Amazon. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Bezos has done nothing but abuse and exploit his workers and poison the earth. In 2020, Chris Smalls, a powerful activist, led a walkout at an Amazon warehouse in Staten Island, New York, and he was fired for that. He was fired for that. And yet, even though he was fired, he was still able to organize the first Amazon labor union, called Amazon Labor Union. And so he's this incredible leader, this incredible activist. And since then, he has continued to protest and organize. And recently, he was arrested for showing up to the Met Gala and protesting at the Met Gala, where Jeff Bezos was the fucking host or whatever, the creative director or whatever, you know, like they have a special, like, I don't know what it's called, like host every year or whatever. So all praise and protection to Chris Smalls, to labor organizers, to workers fighting back everywhere. And also there's been a slew of climbing gyms who have been unionizing. I've written about that. You can go on Terra Incognita Media to read more about the stuff that I've said about the unionizing that's been happening in the climbing world. And I've also talked about it on the podcast before. I've interviewed some folks who have been organizing in the climbing gym space. And Movement is a gym that has worked really, really hard to squash any and all efforts of unionizing in their gyms. And despite that, people have been successful, but then they make it incredibly hard to negotiate a contract. They do union busting and all this disgusting, horrific stuff. So I worked at Planet Granite in Portland before it became now Movement. And that was my first taste of how a brand, a company can put up a pride flag and a Black Lives Matter flag and be like, yeah, no, like Movement doesn't give a fuck about Black people. Movement doesn't give a fuck about queer people. Movement doesn't give a fuck about women. I don't care if they have women climb nights. I don't care if they have queer climb nights or whatever. Allow people to create affinity spaces. Like Movement is a fucked company. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about people. So fuck Movement. I understand that people need to climb somewhere, but if you have another option, don't fucking climb at Movement if you have another option. So this Pride, I know I'm coming on strong. I'm coming on hot and heavy. That's how Pride makes me feel, okay? Hot and heavy. So Pride, this Pride, remember that being in solidarity with queer liberation means divesting from companies like Amazon who hate queer people, who hate queerness, who hate Black people, who hate Indigenous people, who hate the earth. These companies hate the earth and hate us. These companies, these corporations don't give a fuck. We need to always remember that. We always need to keep that in the front of mind. So one more quick note about the surveillance state that we live in is that why this is really important is because, there's all of the horrific abuses, human rights abuses, the violence that is coming from ICE, that is coming from detention centers like Delaney Hall. Like, it's horrifying. Pregnant teens who were detained by ICE, like they don't know where they are, okay, and that we can conclude that they were murdered by ICE, and that that children are being sexually abused in these detention camps, in these concentration camps. This is nothing new. This is the US. This is the US of A. Nothing about this is new. Nothing about this is unique to a Trump presidency. This has been happening under Biden. This was happening under Obama. This is going to happen under any single president, which is why we need to abolish the systems that we live in, abolish the oppressive systems. We don't need presidents. I'm probably going to lose people right now at this point, but stay with me. It's relevant because if we are about queer liberation, then we need to also be aligned with the abolitionist movement. We need to be aligned with abolishing police, abolishing ICE, abolishing prisons. Okay? YK Hong writes, quote, while more are becoming aware of the surveillance state outside that is capitalist colonialism and empire, people often forget about their own private spaces inside, like our homes. With the proliferation of smart and connected devices, it is possible for surveillance to be embedded in virtually every device we have around us without our constant awareness. Our first move is to attempt to take inventory of smart and connected devices in our home, because it is through our connection to the external world that surveillance typically happens. Data gathered by devices in our home is often sent back to the manufacturer or even bounced to third parties, or our devices can even be tapped and hacked remotely by other entities, end quote. Like, they're listening right now. They're listening to me right now. They're like, oh, I'm on the list. I'm on the list of like domestic terrorists, like I'm pretty sure. But also on the topic of meta glasses, Hong writes, quote, the state has easily expanded their ops network by using consumers to feed our data to the state. With the prolific rollout of meta glasses and other audio and video recording wearables now connected to social media, the cloud, and AI, the conversation about consent is being suffocated and suppressed on all sides. A group of meta glasses wearers were exposed running a business of recording sexual encounters and selling the footage online, of course, without consent. ICE and CBP agents have also been wearing them while conducting raids and abductions while using facial recognition tech. Influencers in the wild are wearing them and posting sensationalist clickbait footage of people, again, without their consent. A culture without consent is violence, end quote. I want to just like hone in on that sentiment, on that fact that a culture that is not rooted in consent is violence. And real quick about Ring cameras, YK Hong also writes, Amazon Ring cameras goes back to the police. That footage goes back to the police. Not only that, they're also exploring an option for law enforcement to be able to live stream doorbell footage. So YK Hong is saying, don't fucking use Ring products. And I am too. If you have a Ring camera, you're surveilling the people that come to your door. You're surveilling the people who are walking on the street. That's fucking creepy. YK Hong also talks about how Amazon is partnering with Axon, who makes tasers, drones, surveillance devices, and also license plate readers. Ring Doorbell is in partnership with a weapons and surveillance company, making Ring a weapons and surveillance company too. This is related to rape culture. This is related to what I will be talking about later, mostly in the bonus episode. But a culture without consent, like YK Hong talks about, is violence. Being raised and being conditioned in a society, specifically white men being raised and conditioned in a society that does not care about consent, is exactly how we get men like Charlie Barrett. And then we are all taught that that's okay. We are all taught to normalize this, whether it's a horrific joke, a dehumanizing joke, a dehumanizing comment, whether it's a weird touch, how someone makes us feel uncomfortable. We are trained, we are conditioned to ignore these red flags because we do not get taught what consent means and what that actually looks like, which I will be diving so much more deeper into as we go, not just in this episode, because there are other things I'm going to be talking about, but as we move along, because the Charlie Barrett case and what I wrote about Himpathy, like really just opened up a whole like Pandora's box of the fact that we, myself included, have not been taught what sexual assault is, of what sexual violence is and what that looks like and what leads to that. What is grooming? How does grooming happen? What leads to that? There are so many things that we need to know that it's not our fault that we don't know. It's our society that intentionally does not want us to know how these things work because they want to protect the predators, because the people in power are predators. The people in power are the pedophiles. And they give the white men, specifically, mostly, in our lives, get to just get carte blanche, just get to do whatever the fuck they want and not ask questions, not ask if you're okay, not ask if what they're doing is okay, not have a care for how they're impacting people. So I'm dedicated to exposing the rot that is the rape culture in climbing and in the outdoor industry at large. And I want us to deeply understand that violence is not just a black eye. Violence can be not just physical, but it can be emotional, it can be psychological or mental, it can be spiritual. It can manifest in institutional ways. There is systemic violence, institutional violence, societal, familial, interpersonal. And something that I'm trying to have more conversations about as well is how people who wouldn't identify themselves as violent and people who we would never describe as violent can do violent things. Because being a rape apologist is a violent thing. And there are people who have talked to me and told me like, hey, I know that person. Like they just like, got upset because someone said something racist. They just got upset because someone did something sexist. Like, okay, that is important for us to wrap our heads around, is that the people in our life who we love or who we might feel safe around could be potentially making other people feel incredibly unsafe or doing unsafe things. They could be violating other people. My friend recently asked me like, well, what would happen if your brother or your dad or somebody in your family was accused of raping someone or of violating someone? And I was like, well, I would absolutely believe the person who accused them. Like, yes, it would be hard. Yes, it would be painful, but I've already grappled with this. I mean, not really grappled with it because it's never happened, but I've already like gone through that thought experiment. Because when we say believe survivors, yeah, I mean all survivors. I would hope that never happens, but I know that all men are conditioned to feel like they are entitled to people's bodies, especially marginalized genders. I stand by believing survivors. And I think that people like Will Stanhope's family or Charlie Barrett's family needs to grieve and needs to believe survivors and grieve and be upset and be sad and be horrified that a family member, that someone that they've grown up with, that someone that they love is horrific, has done horrifically violent things and deserves to face consequences, should face consequences for their actions. Because all of us who are adults need to face consequences for the things that we do. Okay, consequences are neutral. Like they could be bad, they could be good, they could be whatever, but they're pretty much like they're the result of our actions. This is something that I would talk about in the Montessori schools when I worked in them. This is something that I learned from the teacher and the mentor, Nancy, who I worked with at Whole Child Montessori in Portland, Oregon. Like one of the only amazing true Montessori schools I've ever worked in was that school. And she would talk about how consequences are neutral. And with the children, if a kid was having a hard time listening or was doing something that was unsafe, like we would say like, hey, the consequence of this is like there's a natural consequence. Like either the natural consequence is like you're going to climb up that thing and it's going to be unsafe and I will try to stop you, but if I can't get to you in time, the natural consequence would be that you might get hurt. I don't want the kid to get hurt, but that's an example of how like a natural consequence of us going climbing. Like there's risks in that, right? And we can try to mitigate those risks. But or like yeah, so I think you're getting my point. But like a natural consequence of like sharing your toys with someone is like they want to be your friend. Okay? So yeah, adults need to face consequences for their actions, especially if you're a serial rapist. And I think that you're an awful human if you are defending a serial rapist or have defended a serial rapist. And that you should be doing everything in your fucking power to repair that harm that you've done, which will take your entire lifetime to do that. But I haven't seen one single person who wrote a character letter for Barrett or who defended him do anything to try to repair that harm. So my question is like to you, dear listener, dear friend, or alt-right enemy lurker, is the person in your life who you're thinking is such a nice guy, are they really? Like, are they really? Like, if you are friends with somebody who I've called out recently, like, are they actually a nice guy? Do they actually reciprocate in your relationship with you? Do they actually treat other people nicely? Like, not even nicely. Let's get rid of that word, but like kindly, with kindness, with decency, with respect, with dignity. Because the way that somebody thinks about something or conceptualizes something absolutely reveals some deeper, uglier truths underneath that. And I can't believe that somebody who would defend someone like Charlie Barrett is actually truly a kind human being. Because underneath that, they're probably treating their relationships transactionally. They're probably incredibly entitled. Like they see themselves in Charlie Barrett, or it's just like that reveals so much to me about who you are as a person. I don't give a fuck what Jackie has done for gender equity in climbing. It is null and void since she defends Charlie Barrett, since she harassed his survivors. We don't need to protect these people. They don't need our protection. In fact, even though I'm saying all this stuff, they're still going to have friends. They're still going to have a business. They're still going to make money. They're going to be fine. That's the fucked up thing. But that's why I'm speaking out about it, because they're still going to be okay. But we need a society where adults remember that they are adults and their beliefs, their words, their actions have an impact. And who you align yourself with, every single thing you do, every single thing you say has consequences, has an impact, creates a ripple effect, or has an immediate effect. And a natural consequence of you being a rape apologist is that you're untrustworthy, you're unsafe, you're unfit to be on any board that is advocating for gender equity. You're unsafe to be on any board, anywhere, fighting for any kind of liberation or justice or fairness. Because if you're a rape apologist, you are not about collective liberation. I don't want to see anybody who's a rape apologist hold a pride flag, talk about Black Lives Matter. Shut the fuck up. You don't give a fuck about people. You don't give a fuck about queer people. You don't give a fuck about Black people if you're a rape apologist. So let's go back to, like, I want to talk about, like, just some, like, suggestions or just some reminders about Pride. I do encourage you to donate to the Marsha P. Johnson Institute. This is a organization that was founded by Elle Hearn. They're doing amazing things for trans people. So please look into their organization, the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, and consider donating. Celebrate and defend trans people always. Stop saying boy mom, girl mom, please. Like let's stop that. Let's stop it. It's very gender essentialist. It's really gross. Please remind everybody that gender is a construct. Let children tell you what their gender is. Children will know. Children like have their identities and they are their own people. They are humans. They are the most oppressed class in our society. They are the most oppressed segment of people in our society, our children. Remember that children are people and they get to decide who they are. And I think that we should just be the facilitators for that. The facilitators of allowing themselves to be their fully expressed selves. So yeah, gender's a construct. Let children be who they are and let them define themselves for themselves. And as Erica Hart asks in her new book, Nasty Work, which I highly recommend reading, which is a great book to read, to read from a local bookstore or from bookshop.org, Nasty Work by Erica Hart, she asked the question, who would you be without the gender binary? I mean, this question rocks my socks off. And this also reminds me of how many anti-racist scholars will ask the question, who would you be without whiteness? I've had to ask myself this question. I ask myself these questions every day, every fucking day. And yeah, who would I be if I wasn't attached to whiteness? Or who would I be without whiteness? The construct of whiteness. So part of celebrating Pride is, for those of us who are white, unlearning white supremacy culture, because whiteness and the oppressive gender binary are interlinked. We need to cancel gender reveal parties, okay? Like, and if you don't want to go to one, if you got an invite and you don't want to go, don't go. Don't go. I give you permission. Don't go. A couple reminders that I like to remind myself too is you can shave your body hair. You can not shave your body hair. You can do hormone replacement therapy. You cannot do hormone replacement therapy. Your queerness, your transness, non-binariness, lesbianness, bisexualness, two-spiritness, agenderness, asexualness, demisexualness, etc., it is valid no matter what you look like, no matter what you wear, no matter what. Yeah, even if you've never been in a queer relationship before, you are still gay, you are still queer. That's something that I struggled with as somebody who is bisexual. And it's maybe I'll get into my queer lore another time, but because as a true bisexual, I dated a woman and it was one of the most toxic relationships that I've ever been in. Okay, so great, you know. Yeah, climber mask girl who devastated my brain and my heart and my emotions for less than 2 months, but healing from that was like a year and a half of work. Me and my therapist, me and my amazing therapist. I love you, Levi. So that actually happened 2 prides ago. Of course, it was a pretty quintessential pride for me. The last thing that I want to say about this is, please remember that just because a brand is displaying a pride flag, it means nothing about their actual intentions or values. It has to come with action. What are their actions that are backing up that flag? A flag can be performative. Yes, the flags are meaningful. Yes, the flags are beautiful. And yes, I love waving a flag around, the trans flag, the bisexual flag, the pride flag. Those are all incredible, beautiful, meaningful expressions of queer liberation and solidarity. And businesses can co-opt those symbols and put them in their window, hang them up, and it just means fucking nothing. It just makes them look good for whoever's not actually paying attention, right? So allyship is a verb. You can't claim to be an ally. It's not an identity. It's an action. And if you tell me that you're an ally, that's a red fucking flag, bro. That's a red flag. It's like a man telling me he's one of the good ones. And I'm like, ew, immediately lock him up. Immediately banish him. No, I'm not kidding. So we have to look deeper and we have to ask deeper questions and interrogate the shit out of these brands and businesses that say we're inclusive. We love DEI. Yeah, we're queer friendly. We love diversity. And they have queer nights or they have women nights, or even if they have any kind of affinity spaces, okay, but where's the advocacy that you're doing around a free Palestine? Where's your poster? Where's your flyer about free Palestine? Where's your flyer advertising the next protest against ICE? Why aren't you letting Erin host a workshop about disrupting toxic masculinity in the outdoor industry? Where is your allyship? What? I'm confused. I see that. Okay. So I have questions. And you should be asking these questions too. Do they pay a living wage? Do they hire Black people? Because Black liberation is queer liberation. Worker solidarity is queer liberation. These all go hand in hand. What is that company doing to address the stolen land that they're on? If they're not doing anything to address that, they're not about queer liberation. They don't give a fuck about queer liberation. Because Queer liberation necessitates land back, necessitates indigenous sovereignty. Do they support the affinity space of actually are they making it free for people to come in to be in those affinity spaces at least like once a month? Like, do they tell the cis white man who's being obnoxious, who's speaking too loudly, who's screaming too loudly, falling at the clip or like screaming and taking? Like, what? Like, do they tell the cis white man to shut the fuck up when they're being too loud, projecting? Like, are they telling the cis white men to take up less space, to stop mansplaining the beta, to stop manspreading, to stop making everybody feel uncomfortable, etc., etc., etc.? You know? Like, do they believe survivors and center survivors? Or do they house and protect rapists and rape apologists? And yes, I am thinking of some specific climbing gyms like Synergy Climbing in Chattanooga, run by Lisa Rand and Wills Young, who are besties with Charlie Barrett. So the gayest thing that you can do this Pride, or the best way that you can be an ally, is to honor and remember that Pride and queer liberation is about resisting the state. It is about protesting the status quo. It is about being against cop cities. It is about being in solidarity with labor movements and unions, boycotting Target and Amazon, protesting ICE, particularly at Delaney Hall right now, and speaking up about Palestine, about Congo, about Sudan. Okay, now for the lore of Terra. So, quick reminder, here at Terra, we're not just a podcast. We do, like, you'll find this on YouTube if you're not watching this on YouTube. Terra is a whole platform. We have big dreams of becoming a zine someday. Maybe more on that over the next couple of weeks. We want to, like, I really want to publish more writers. I really want to have more writers out there who are not just, I don't want to just be myself. I don't want to just be my voice on this platform. And I also want to do more workshops, more educational workshops. So I teach a workshop called Toxic Masculinity in the Outdoor Industry. I talk about rape culture and how it shows up. And I use climbing as the most specific way of illustrating how that unfolds, how that manifests. Because nothing pisses off climber bros more. Nothing pisses them off more than some bitch, this ravenous bitch, who projects B4, on a good day, projects B5, B6, depending on the gym, depending on the boulder area, and then criticizes the climbing world because they're like, you don't even fucking climb. You don't even fucking trad. I do trad climb, bitch. I do. I have trad gear. Somebody on Mountain Project was like, she doesn't even climb, she's not a climber. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you're not a climber and you want to criticize the shit out of the climbing industry, please, you can join me. Pull up a chair, sit down. Let's commiserate. I'm not going to gatekeep criticizing the climbing world. Like, what? Just shut the fuck up. Anyways, it is clear that something that really, it's clear for all of us. We already know this, that something needs to shift in the climbing world, in the outdoor industry. And as a bisexual, as a demisexual survivor of intimate partner violence and sexual assault, I'm diligently working behind the scenes to bring you something that comes from my heart. And I, for one, yearn for a place to vent, to gossip, to commiserate, and share strategies about dismantling the status quo of the outdoor industry. And so please stay tuned, because I have a really exciting announcement coming next Tuesday, June 9th, when Venus and Jupiter meet in the sky for all of my astrology girlies out there. If you're not on our newsletter yet, I invite you to subscribe to that, because that's where you're going to hear about it first. And that's where I do most of my communications. And social media is incredibly unreliable. And with all the things that I've been talking about lately, trying to expose these predators of the outdoor industry, I've been getting censored from Instagram. A lot of my posts have been archived, forcefully archived. And I just encourage you that if you want to keep connected and you want to keep hearing these conversations and be in this community, then I would recommend that if you're not already, connecting with us off of social media, outside of social media. And I think that the best way to do that would definitely be Patreon. You can subscribe for $5 or $10 right now, and that gets you the bonus episodes of this podcast. And that money goes directly back into Terra, and it's supporting this work. It's supporting my ability to be able to find the best lighting in this space and to deliver you this rant right now. For example, also troll all the douchebags of the outdoor industry. Someone's got to do it. But there also is a free option. So if you just want to get on the newsletter, get on the email list, then that is beautiful. I would love to see you there too. And when you do subscribe, you will get our free download, which is called the Toxic Masculinity in the Outdoor Industry Cheat Sheet. That is something that I made a couple years ago to help people really understand what this looks like in the outdoors and then what you can do to disrupt it and heal from it. I hope that's helpful, but yeah, please go ahead and download that. It's free, and all the links for all these things will be in the description. And I'm also collecting more stories. I'm really grateful for the people, again, who I've connected with online, who have felt like that they can trust me and that their stories are safe with me. But if you feel called to share with me your experiences, I would love to hear from you. I would love to connect. I want to expose as many predators and as many rape apologists in the climbing world or in the larger outdoor industry as much as possible. So I am adamant about believing, centering, and protecting survivors. If you desire to be anonymous, if you want to remain anonymous, like you can rest assured that I will prioritize your boundaries, your anonymity, and yeah, I will prioritize that above all else. We can even chat on Signal if that makes you feel more comfortable. I've been taking some of the conversations to Signal because some survivors feel more comfortable that way. So let's get into the Lore of Terra. And then after that is when I'm going to be getting into like the response that I got from Himpathy for the Devil. And that conversation I will be paywalling. That will be the bonus content of this episode, because not because I don't stand 10 toes in it, and not because I'm not afraid of people hearing what I have to say, but it is because I'm really trying to fund this platform, and I really want it to grow bigger and get bigger. And I really want to create a more intimate and tight-knit community around this work that I'm doing. And I want to be able to solicit and pay other people, pay other voices. And I can't do that unless this work is funded. So that's why I have to paywall some of the content. I've always been against taking sponsorships, staunchly against any advertisements, doing anything with ads. So I just don't want to do any of that. Like, I want to be completely uncensored. And from what I've found is that if you take money from sponsors or take outside money or whatever from investors or whatever, like you are beholden to them. I don't want to mess with taking any investor money or any advertisement money or sponsor money or anything. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that that's a completely valid and legitimate and respectable way to make a living. For me personally, with this specific platform, I will not be doing that. I've intentionally chosen not to do that with this platform. And it's an act of protest because I want to remain unfiltered and unapologetic and uninfluenced. My inspiration from this model comes from Bitch Magazine, which was the magazine that was around from 1996 to June 2022, so just a couple of years ago. It was really sad. I was incredibly devastated. Bitch Magazine was like a lifeline for me, and I admired and looked up to Andy Ziesler, one of the founders. Lisa Jervis was one of the other founders, and they were an unapologetic feminist response to pop culture. That's where I got the tagline for Terra. So I wanted to emulate. I still want to emulate this magazine. It was such a incredible resource and woke me up to so many feminist ideas and ways of thinking, and healed me and allowed me to unlearn so much bullshit, patriarchal, white supremacist, colonialist brainwashing. So I am definitely adamant about following in their footsteps, although at times they did take advertisements from aligned companies, which I think is amazing and so great. But for right now, and I think for, the rest of Terra's time, like, I'm pretty staunch about not taking money and making this an ad-free space so that I can keep talking shit freely, Again, somebody's got to do it. It's the cross I gladly bear, It's just becoming more and more clear that building a robust and independent platform off social media is really necessary to avoid censorship. So I do love social media because it has connected me to so many people like you who are listening to this. And it's been so crucial for me to learn and unlearn like oppressive shit that I would never have been exposed to. Like, I mean, Erica Hart, like so many incredible activists and educators that I found through social media. And it's also a double-edged sword, though, right? Because then we have like things like the manosphere, and it can be a really scary place, but it radicalized me in all the best ways. So I know that that's incredibly powerful, and so I do love social media for that. But also, I really, really am charging forward full force making this an independent platform. So more on that next week. Stay tuned for an exciting announcement. And yeah, so let's get to like the villain origin story, shall we? Let's get to the lore. So back in 2012, I fell in love with a dirtbag. I was living in so-called Moab, Utah, and I met him because he was my server at the Peace Tree, which is now Gloria's Corner Cafe, I believe. And I was studying the flora and fauna. I had my like little flora and fauna book out because I had gotten a really problematic job through the Park Service. I applied for this job through AmeriCorps, where I was teaching Indigenous children their own history. That was what this program was basically about. It was called Canyon Country Outdoor Education. And it was, at the time, I didn't realize it because I hadn't unlearned all of my colonialist, capitalist, patriarchal conditioning and programming, which of course is an ongoing, lifelong journey that I'm still on. At the time, I hadn't even started it. So I really didn't understand why the indigenous people of the area didn't like us, didn't like the Park Service. Now I definitely know why. I absolutely know why, but I didn't at the time, and I reflect on that experience, and it informs so much of why I am so driven to talk about these things in the outdoor industry, to talk about how colonialism, toxic masculinity, white supremacy, patriarchy shows up in the outdoor industry, because you have people like me who take these jobs thinking that we're helping, thinking that we're doing something good. And yet it is completely based and rooted in non consent. Indigenous people did not invite us here. We are uninvited. We are guests. And yeah, we are uninvited guests. And we are thinking that we're doing something good. We're thinking that we're helping by teaching Indigenous children their own history. Like I remember when I asked my superior at the time why people didn't like the Park Service, why Indigenous people didn't like the Park Service, and why we were getting glares and bad looks in the gas station. And it was like this very flippant response that she gave. It was patronizing. It was condescending. It was paternalistic, where it was like, they just don't know better. And that stuck with me. It's so disgusting. It's so incredibly fucked up. And that stuck with me because that is how that mindset is pervasive still to this day. Not much has changed. So this is why the national parks, the park system, and because of becoming friends with Jolie Varela and being completely impacted, and my life has been completely altered and changed for the better since knowing Jolie Varela and learning from her work through Indigenous Women Hike. That's how I've come to understand just how totally violent the national parks actually are, and public lands actually are. And I know that these systems bring a lot of joy to a lot of us, and we all have a lot of good memories in these places, but we do have to acknowledge that these systems are rooted in violence, just like the suburb where I come from, where I grew up. That suburb is rooted in violence. The suburbs are violent. I hope that maybe you can start, if you're not already, making this connection to the ways in which we're taught to think that there are these men who are just these like paternalistic figures in the climbing world, or like painted as these badasses, or like these icons, these legends, these men, the myth, the legend, Dean Potter, like that these men are actually not great people. They're toxic for the most. Dean Potter is one of them. The men who I've already stated before at the top of this episode are violent. So we need to really question and look at how we define violence, or how we define a good guy or a good person. So I was dating this guy. I was dating this dirtbag who later did a complete 180 and became a rifle owning, hunting loving, Trump supporting, God fearing history teacher who I think is, last time I checked, in Alaska. And it's terrifying. It's bone chilling because what do you mean? What do you mean I dated a guy like that? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, he did a 180 on me. But I think that that just is a testament to how you never can trust a man, you know? So, okay, I was 22. I was so young and I was so madly, deeply in love with this person. He had not become this horrific, stereotypical Republican dude yet, but yeah, at the time that wasn't him at all. So I thought that our values aligned. I thought that he was on the same page as me. I thought that we were both like feminists. Like I thought he supported feminism and women and like, you know, people and liked humans and valued them. But I also had this belief that if somebody loves me, it means that they love all the things that I love. If someone tells me they love me, it means that they love the things that I love, right? Like, no, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. But you know, you can date a sexist, racist guy or person, and just because they don't care, like they just because they want to date you doesn't mean that they actually care about your values or your integrity or your beliefs, right? Like it's not life or death to them. It's just like a talking point. It's just like a topic called politics. You can file it under topics like where do you like to vacation? Like I don't know. I don't know. I grew up in that world, but politics is not just this subject that you isolate and that you don't talk about at dinner or never talk about because that's what white culture is. Everything's political. Our lives are political. Everything's political. The products that I put in my hair is political. This shirt is political. That plant is political. Boulder is political. All this shit is political. I don't need to tell you that. We're on the same page. I know. But we can have different opinions about, you know, which way to load the toilet paper in the toilet paper holder thing, right? The right way is for it to be on top. You pull it from the top. That's like we can disagree on that, but I'm right. The way I do it is right, but we can disagree on it. But no, we can't do that when it comes to fundamental human rights. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, since then I've learned how to navigate screening men and asking the right questions and scanning for these red flags. But also I'm a bisexual and I'm not on, I am my the dating apps are exhausting, but I don't I'm like choosing to be celibate from men right now. So don't get me started. Men make our lives worse. Did you just want to say that? I have evidence of this, okay? Not just like personal experience, but like peer-reviewed studies that men make our lives worse while we make men's lives better. Okay? So I'm also reading this book called The Tragedy of Heterosexuality. Oh my God, I want to do an entire episode on that book. Oh, oh, required reading, bitch. Required reading, bitch. Okay, we have to read that book. It needs to be read by the people, by the masses. Give them away for free. Right up there with nasty work. Okay, these books need to be on everyone's bookshelves. But god damn, the tragedy of heterosexuality. It's cutting. It's so good. But let's go back to my dirtbag lover who appropriated Rastafarian culture, and then went and swung in the opposite direction to reading the Bible. So I was sideswiped watching his transformation from what I thought was a progressive climber bro who hated the man to a raging US military worshiping nationalist. It was quite terrifying. And this is a guy that got me into climbing though. So after meeting him, I was like in the thick of being brainwashed by climbing bro culture. I was I was fangirling hard, okay? You wouldn't have recognized this version of Erin, all right? She still had great hair. But no, she just she was she was loving the bros. She was loving the bro culture. So I loved attending Real Rock that first year. Like when I lived in Moab, I went to Real Rock. I don't remember what year it was. It was 2012. That was the first year that I started climbing, and I thought that I had found my people. And as somebody who like I never saw myself as athletic, and after standing on top of like all these cool rock formations, these amazing, beautiful rock formations, we did ancient art, like the Citibank commercial. And like after like thrashing and bleeding up these crack systems and learning how to crack climb and wanting to die and like being like, why the, and crying. Like, why am I doing this? Like, fuck you, bro. Like, but then I love it. I'm obsessed. I love crack climbing. But I'm so grateful for those experiences. And my self perception and my identity shifted for the better. I saw myself as athletic. I saw myself as empowered. It really did lead me to feeling more strong and empowered in myself. And yet, I still wasn't doing the true healing work. I still wasn't interrogating my conditioning under white supremacy culture. I still wasn't interrogating my attachment to the gender binary. That came a lot later, way too late. So, unfortunately, the way that this manifested in my climbing is that I was beating myself up. I kind of acted like a Dean Potter sometimes. Like I would remember I kicked and screamed at the wall these two specific occasions. It's so fucking embarrassing. Like there was this cringy moment that I think about where I was at the creek and this is after I broke up with this dude, or he broke up with me. He cheated on me and we broke up. But um I'm not bitter. I just get I get yeah. Anyways, so we like talked and had like a coffee meetup and chat like before he became, yeah, anyways, it's all good. But he actually apologized. But yeah, anyways, I was like, I don't care. It's fine. Let bygones be bygones. I dodged a bullet, bro. God bless. God bless. Okay. So with the with throwing a fit and being like Dean Potter, acting like him and all toxic, I was in the creek and I was trying to impress this guy, and all of his friends were there, and I was in this off with, and I had no business being in this fucking off with. First of all, fuck off with. I'm sorry. I have so much respect for you if you like them, but I cannot. I just no. I have no desire. At the time, I was like, I'm gonna be the most badass crack climbing bitch ever, and I didn't fucking wear a shirt. I didn't have like any kind of protection on. I was wearing a fucking skinny, thin strapped sports bra. So my entire back got all scratched up. Thought I was so badass for that. That's not badass. What are you doing? Just stop. It's not, no, that's not cool. And I just would not give up. And it was so hot outside, and I felt so bad for my belayer afterwards because in the moment I was like in fight or flight or something. Like I was like, like, oh my God. Yeah, like I blacked out. I'm going to get up this fucking chimney, bitch. Like it's scary to think about, but I'm glad I'm not there anymore. And I'm so sorry to the people who were around for that because that truly was embarrassing. There were some embarrassing moments, but it's all that to say that yeah, I really thought that climbing was healing me and that if everybody just climbed, the world would be such a better place, right? Fuck no. No, actually. But people still have that belief. There are people out there that are like, God, like if you don't spending all day every day outside, that is the way to live. Okay, like so you've never been houseless is what you're telling me. So you've never considered that there are people who don't have a choice in that. Yes, being outside and connecting with nature, yes, we all need to have that. Or for the most part, I don't want to project on anybody. Like we all need different things, but yes, there are benefits to being outside, and nature is beautiful, and we need to have reverence and be in a good relationship with the outdoors. And there is this like elitism that we all know happens in the outdoor industry where people are like, I'm better than you, and I've cracked the code, and if only everybody got into this or did this my way and like bought these certain products, then like we would all be better off. And that is absolutely how I thought when I got into climbing. That's part of white supremacy conditioning and culture is this elitism and thinking that you're better than everybody else. Even if it's subconscious, even if it's like just below the surface, because I would never have wanted to admit that to anybody, right? Of course. Like I wasn't walking around being like, I'm better than everybody. No, I was still like my cute, bubbly, loving, ravenous bitch Libra self. But there was this subconscious conditioning that we all receive living in a white supremacist society. So I was incredibly obsessed with the whole climbing world, and so much so that I did the whole dirtbag thing. I thought that that was really revolutionary when it's really just a manifestation of somebody's privilege to be able to do that. And for me, it was white privilege. And I lived out of my car for a little bit. I lived in so-called Yosemite, Awani. I lived in Payahinadu, so-called Bishop. I lived in the Creek. I lived in outside of Portland. I spent most of my 20s in Portland and lived in Smith Rock for a little while. But yeah, so I became very disillusioned though pretty quickly. I began to see the misogyny. I began to see and witness and hear the racism and transphobia and ableism and classism and fat phobia that runs rampant in the climbing world. And also that really pernicious colonialist approach to climbing. So I couldn't overlook the hypocrisy that I was seeing in myself and in others surrounding me. And in the vegan eco jocks that drew the line in animal cruelty, but couldn't draw the line or look at the ways in which they were upholding and complicit in white supremacist patriarchy. That was a meme that was floating around the internet for a while about the way that also white women are like, I draw the line at animal cruelty. But when it comes to white supremacy, no, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I realized that climbing was just another outlet for toxic masculine men who actually needed to go to therapy and process their unhealed trauma. And that instead of doing that, they were wreaking havoc on the environment. They were taking their rage and repressed sadness and guilt and shame and fear, etc., out on the natural world around them, or or on the people around them, like Dean Potter, as we saw in The Dark Wizard. These men just like literally wake up and choose violence, you know? And they choose to look the other way in so many cases, as we've seen. They look the other way when their climbing partner, their filmmaker mentor, Tim Kemple, like known predators like that. And Will Stanhope, Charlie Barrett, and who else? Fill in the blank. So I truly cringe when I look back on that time at the beginning when I was first learning how to climb, and then also when I was teaching through the Park Service and worshiping these aggro Peter Pans. It now makes me want to scream, makes me want to poke my eyeballs out, makes me want to go find out where Andrew Bishrot and Chris Cluse live and TP their houses. Just kidding. But after all this time, something in me refuses to give up. I've definitely come in and out of burnout when it comes to this work, but because I yearn for a world, I yearn for a place for those of us, like a safer place, a safer world for those of us who love being outside, who love climbing, but also love running, also love sitting under a tree, also love sitting on a park bench or on the sidewalk or out your front doorstep. And I yearn for a world where each and every one of us gets to do that, gets to freely do that without fear of being hurt or harmed or violated or murdered or assaulted. I yearn for a world where the agency and the autonomy of the earth and all people and all sentient beings is honored, is respected, is prioritized, is uplifted. And I really believe that we all have a role to play in this. We all have a role to play in this abolitionist fight, because that's what this is at the end of the day, as they say. I don't know if I like the phrase at the end of the day, because I feel like at all hours of the day we should be doing that thing. Like, so I don't know. But we all have a role to play against these systems of oppression and in building a world that centers around matriarchy and that fights for a future of collective liberation. And so I believe mine takes shape in many ways, but specifically, I do think that my role is in writing. It's in exposing the truth and providing a healing space for those who have been harmed by these systems and been harmed by toxic masculinity. And I want to encourage you to use your voice and your power and to find out, if you haven't yet, or if you do know what your powers are, to wield those powers, to wield your unique skills, talents, and gifts, to step into your power and to contribute towards building that better world. And just truly believe that we all have these unique skills and gifts. And if you're an astrology girly like me, I really recommend reading Chani Nicholas's book. It's called You Were Born for This, and it's about It's astrology for radical self-acceptance. Astrology can be an amazing tool to getting to know yourself better. And for me, it's really helped me to step into my power more and to acknowledge where I do have agency and to acknowledge the specific things that make me me and to lean into those things that are really powerful in me. And then for those things that maybe I've struggled with or that I used to think were weaknesses, how can I harness those to shape them into tools or weapons towards the goals that I want, towards building the future that I want, towards partnering with the people who I want to be in solidarity with. So I really think that we all have these unique skills and talents and gifts. And I think that you can harness that too. If more of us understood where and how we have these unique talents and skills and gifts, then we would all be more fully in our power and we could all take more advantage of the agency that we do have in a world where they don't want us to feel like we have agency and power. These systems don't want us to feel empowered. They want us to feel impotent. They want us to feel powerless. They want us to feel helpless and fearful and listless. And so I reject that lie. We are all powerful. We all have truly powerful skills. We all have something to bring to the table so that we can all join forces and take down these oppressive systems. Or in the recent case, we can take down these oppressive, violent, abusive, toxic men and the people that support them. What could be possible if we weren't afraid to do that? What could be possible if we found each other, we connected with each other, and we were in true solidarity with each other to push back against the quote unquote way it's always been done, push back against these toxic masculine patriarchal eco jocks who are so obsessed with keeping things the way things are because it's working for them, because it's comfortable for them, because it's making them money. If I've learned anything from this work and from recently publishing the Himpathy for the Devil article, it's that we are so fucking hungry for a change. We are so fucking hungry to burn it all down. And not just burn it down, but to build something so nourishing, so human-centered, so survivor-centered in its place. So that's the lore for Terra. That's my offering to you. Terra Incognita Media is my offering to you. And I invite you to join me in reshaping, redefining, and reimagining our relationship with the outdoors by putting your voice out there, putting your work out there unapologetically, and shaking up the spaces that you exist in, shaking up your sphere of influence for the better, shaking up the status quo wherever you are. If you'd like to support this work, I would be thrilled to have you join as a $5 or $10 subscriber. It really, truly means the world to me. I'm so grateful. Even if you just want to subscribe to the newsletter and download the free PDF, like I'm so fucking grateful that you want to be a part of this world at all. That you want to have a piece of what I'm creating and what I've dedicated the last 10 years to. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being involved in whatever capacity you have, whatever ways that you want to be involved. Thank you so much from the bottom of my feminist killjoy heart. If you want to follow us on social media, it is at Terra Incognita Media on all social media. Read the articles at terraincognitamedia.com. And then, of course, if you want to listen to this on YouTube in the future or listen to past episodes, you can visit us on YouTube at Terra Incognita Media. You can listen to the Terra podcast on Spotify. Yeah, and if you want to listen, so now I'm going to transition to the paywalled content. So if you want to listen to that, just go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon. I'm going to be sharing about the responses that I got from the Himpathy article, and I'd be so grateful for you to join us there. I'd love to share my candid thoughts with you. It's always candid, but my continued candid thoughts. But if this is the end for us in this moment right here, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. And remember to stay tuned for next week when I have a really exciting announcement coming out on Tuesday, June 9th. Okay, I love you. I'll talk to you later.